Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween. I am coming to you today to talk about how scary eating disorders are. Oh my God, they're really scary. And you know what the worst thing is? What if you, for the rest of your life, were scared of food? What if for the rest of your life you were scared of your body? What if for the rest of your life you were afraid to lose or gain weight, as we do as humans as we go through our life? Our bodies change, our food choices change, we change. What if all of those changes that we go through from the time we get on the planet until the time we leave, we are terrified of food and our body? What if that is the way it is? Well, that is the way it is when you have an eating disorder, when you have body dysmorphia, when you are so afraid of food, you cannot eat one tiny piece of Halloween candy because you are afraid that you will eat all the candy in the world. Or you do eat one tiny piece of candy and you do eat a bunch of candy. And that night you feel horrible. And the next day you feel horrible because you ate too much candy. So what if that were your life? It's a horrible life. And it doesn't need to be that way. You do not have to suffer worrying about your weight and your food. We were all babies. Even a tiny witch baby knows how to eat. A tiny werewolf baby knows how to eat. A tiny, a Dracula baby knows how to eat. And they don't worry about their weight. They eat when they're hungry, they stop when they're full, and they eat what their body wants. So for me, I had to go back to being a baby. What did I do as a baby? Well, I did know how to eat. I knew when to sleep. I knew when to move around. I knew when to yawn, and I knew when to talk, and I knew when to walk. And we all know that. We all have this innate ability to know when we're hungry, when we're full, and what kind of food our bodies want. Sheila here is a perfect example of an intuitive eater. She will go to her bowl, look at me very intently, come back over and sit with me, and if I don't get up and feed her, she goes back to the bowl. The kitty does the same thing, Elkie. So Sheila does it and Elkie does it. My husband does it. He's a natural eater too. Now, I had to plug that in at some point because I had gotten so far away from it. I was a professional dieter. Thank you very much. So I knew exactly how much to eat and how much not to eat and how much I wanted to weigh. And if it changed even like an ounce, I was devastated. I drove everyone around me crazy, including myself. So I had to relearn how to eat intuitively. I had to watch a baby eat. I had to watch a little kid eat. I had to watch an animal eat. I had to watch who I thought was a natural eater eat and ask questions like, how do you know you are done with that sandwich? There's 3/4 of it still left. You're not going to eat it? You know, it really, when I was an alcoholic, it disturbed me when people left wine in their glass at the table and got up to leave. I felt it was my personal responsibility to drink all the wine because we'll never get wine again, is what I told myself. But of course I did. And once I got sober, I didn't have to do that anymore. And once I got an eating disorder recovery, I didn't have to worry about if there was food left on my plate or anyone else's plate. I could take stuff home and I would eat it later, or I could leave it. Janine Ross says, throw it in or throw it out. So I did learn how to throw food away. I was born and raised in the eat everything on your plate, clean your plate or you don't get up from the table kind of era. And I think that is a very bad thing to teach a child. I really do, because they know when they're done and they know when they're hungry and they know exactly what they want to eat. So I'm here to say that the most scary thing that we can do to ourselves is to take food away or to force too much food into our bodies that can only take so much. And you have to figure out what that is. It's different for everyone. And I thought it was my job to keep myself extremely thin, no matter what was going on, no matter if I got taller or I started working out or I started doing kind of sitting around and listening to TV. I needed to be a certain weight, and if I wasn't that weight, all was lost. That was horrifying, and it kept on, and I got sick as sick can be. So eventually I got recovery, and for me, it was to accept the body that I have, warts and all, up and down the scale, whatever it does is fine with me. My job is to feed it well, get enough sleep, get enough water, to let it move around the country, to let it be. Let my body decide what it needed to do and when it needed to do it. So building that trust with a part of myself that loathed myself. It was horrifying and scary and terrible. It was bad. It was like a fun house, a spooky house that somebody would come out and get you. I would feel like that was like the diet industry or the food industry or the fashion industry would come into my face and stay there until I obeyed. And of course it would change. I'm old enough to have gone through several different things of way to eat. So when I was little, you should only eat meat. I came from Texas and that was a big thing there. But then at some point, meat is terrible, only eat vegetables. And then that was like, well, people aren't getting enough protein. So, okay, we can have protein, but it has to be really light protein, no fat. And then people started having issues with that. So our skin wasn't very nice, and we just didn't do very well without any fat in our diet. So then it was like, okay, only eat spaghetti, only eat noodles. And then, now it's kind of like all mixed up, and whatever diet you're on, it's kind of a little bit of all of those things, or it is only one thing, only eat one thing. I have people who fall on the ground crying if they eat sugar. They are so concerned that sugar is going to kill them. Now we know, because we know this, that all food turns into sugar in our body, glucose. That doesn't mean that we should only eat candy, but it means that a little bit is okay. And it means that a little bit of vegetables are okay, and a little bit of protein is okay, and a little bit of everything is fine. Again, watch a child eat. My daughter-in-law would put a bunch of food on the plate for my granddaughter and my grandson, and they would pick what they wanted, and once they were done, they would kind of throw the rest of it on the floor. I'm not saying to do that. That would be embarrassing for everyone around you if all of a sudden you got through eating at a nice restaurant and then you threw everything on the floor. So don't do that. But that's what babies do. And it's okay. It's kind of cute if babies do it, but it's not cute if an adult does it. That is another thing that's scary, is that when we first start getting an eating disorder, we're very rigid and very crazy. And people kind of move away from us because we're so insane. And especially if we start to starve ourselves to death, and our friends and family that are around us going, what? Why are you starving? We have food. We live in America. There's a lot of food here. But you have to get over yourself and your fear of food, and then maybe you start to eat normally. Maybe you eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full, and you eat what your body likes, and then your body changes, and that freaks everyone out again. So we have to let ourselves have the body that we have. And you can tell what your body really wants to look like by looking at your ancestors. So my side of the family that I take off after are very tall, long-limbed people. But they also are thin through the body, but they all have a tummy. And I hated that tummy so much. And I made it worse, a million times worse, because I wouldn't eat, or I would eat too much. I wouldn't eat enough. Blah, blah, blah. My body just didn't know what to do. So when I let myself have my body long-lived, tall, with a stomach, I had to be okay with that. And that was very hard, but I did. I had to accept and love and honor and respect the body that I was given. DNA is the thing about it. We are all programmed to be a certain size. We can change that size, but it's not a good idea. It's a fight you will not win. The third thing I had to do was realize that I had a spiritual body as well, that there was something much bigger for me to do than be a professional dieter. Thank you very much. So I had to let myself be who I was and be okay with that, and listen to myself of what I would like to do with my one little wild life. And there's a lot of things I have done. One thing is making these videos without scaring you to death with all of my Halloween stuff. But it's okay. And I also have my brother here who died a few months ago. So this is his little Day of the Dead altar of appreciating his life, that he was here and did wonderful things with his life, as my sisters do and my brother does, and as I do, and everybody I know does a lot of really wonderful work. And my spirit is more about who I am than what I look like. Who I am is different than what I look like, because I have no control over my body getting sick or getting old or getting dead. So I know it's really scary to think that we have no control over, well, nothing. We have no control over anything. We kind of have a tiny bit of control over how we treat ourselves and each other. But even then, we have a bad day and we're not doing our best. My granddaughter would say, well, I'm not a very good princess today, am I? So that I have to think the same thing about me. Sometimes I'm not a good princess. Sometimes I'm not a good witch either. Sometimes I'm a bad witch. But I come out of it and I start to love myself and my dog and my cat and my family. So I want to just end with, you do not have to have an eating disorder and a body hatred for the rest of your life. That is scary, scary stuff. And you can walk away from that and say, this is over for me. I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. And I'll get help. I'll call somebody who can help me. I'll read books. I'll go to counseling. I'll go to conferences. I will figure this out, and I will eat because I'm hungry. I will stop because I'm full, and I will eat what my body is asking me for. I will live my life according to my own inner self, and I will honor myself and my life. And that is a really not a scary thing. That's a wonderful thing. So thank you very much for being here. Sheila's done as well. Thank you. We'll see you next month.